So for as long as I can remember, I've been uploading to this channel every Monday, and before that every Monday and Thursday, and that has not been a coincidence, because I had that as a commitment in order to always deliver something. Because if I would only upload when I feel like I have something that I feel is good enough, then I would probably not have uploaded anything at all at this point. And I think this commitment has been really helpful in order to learn along the way and grow together with you that are watching, and evolve based on what you think and all that. But over time, as years pass, it kind of becomes a limitation. In order to still be able to keep up the schedule, I've been perhaps needed to like compromise the quality on what I do, and I feel like that can kind of, you know, that limitation can be helpful to be more creative. But if it just becomes a stress to keep up the schedule, then it can become less creative, because as soon as I get a creative idea, I start to stress about if it takes too long of a time and I won't be able to keep up the schedule. And now, for example, I've been having this chance to travel to Lofoten for 2.5 weeks, and that's really a new challenge, a new adventure that I feel is a new growth opportunity. But as soon as I hear this idea, I immediately start to think about, will I be able to keep up the schedule? Then I need to prepare 2.5 worth of videos in advance, and that creates a new stress. So that is a problem that I'm dealing with now. Like, how can I keep up to keep this channel alive without compromising creativity and quality and all that? And one way to deal with this in this situation that I'm in now, I thought I would try to document this adventure and elaborate on this idea and dilemma. But as soon as I say this as a solution, I think that, well, this is only 1 week's worth of video, but it will take like 2.5 and perhaps 3 if I consider the editing time. So it still doesn't solve the problem even in this case. But anyway, for the time being now, I'm just in the middle of nowhere in Sweden, and we're going to Bodø, so it will take some time until we get there, and I'll update you along the way together with some ideas for how to solve this creative issue.
And then we kept on driving, and eventually it started raining quite a lot, so a good driving day. But since it was quite a long way to Bodø, we eventually stopped at Abisko and checked into a hotel. And the next day we checked out and continued on driving. And in the middle of the way we stopped for a nice spontaneous little hike. And when we got to the top, we packed up some snacks.
So usually when we travel, we don't buy like pre-made processed stuff. Instead we make our own stuff, like this for example, made on like eggs and bananas and peanuts and all that, just to have clean food that don't irritate the gut and all that. And that is a big interest that I have. Like, it's not only guitar playing that I cover on my channel, I have like many other interests like that, like how to live healthy in general, and I can feel like that is a limitation on the creativity that I have on this channel right now, that I would like to incorporate other kinds of interests as well. Like for example with guitar playing, the most important part of it for me isn't like the guitar itself, it's more just to be creative as a principle. Like when you just live your life in general, you can feel like you're this person with all these problems, all these bills and all these problems to solve and everything to take care of. But with music and guitar playing, you can get into this place where you just merge into that creative vibration, which is a really cool experience. And I felt like that is really healthy to invest yourself into, but I also feel like that isn't everything in life. There's different aspects in life, and I feel like there's a broader theme in my interest which I haven't been able to cover in my channel so far. So that is something I would like to expand on, but I don't really have a plan on how I would be able to do that.
Then we hiked down, drove for like 10 minutes, and then we reached this spot.
So this is the first time I'm passing the Arctic Circle, so from now on the sun will never set.
After some more hours of driving, we eventually reached Bodø, and in the evening there we enjoyed the nice view of the coast. And the next day we enjoyed some hotel breakfast and then explored what Bodø has to offer, one of which is Saltströmmen, the strongest tidal current in the world. And strength of the current depends on the tides, and we didn't time that perfectly, so the current wasn't as strong as possible, but we still saw the same patterns, just not as strong. And then we went on this lovely hike at the coast.
Tomorrow we're taking the ferries to Lofoten, so that's our next goal. Really exciting. And another thought I had about my channel is the type of content I make. It's like different types of categories, and one example of content that is made just to keep the channel alive is one that I made recently, where I changed the bass strings, and I didn't really think that anyone would really be interested, but rather the focus has been to just do something that I wanted to do for myself and then just document that, because it takes time to do it. So in order to keep the schedule alive, I made that video, and there's other examples of videos like that I have done and that there will be in the future. And one issue that I struggle with is that if I should make videos like that at all, or if it's better to just post less often instead.
Then the next day it was time to hit the ferry and leave Bodø behind. The ferry traveled this pathway, and when we approached Lofoten it was a really beautiful view from the boat. And once we hit the land, we immediately wanted to get the furthest possible to the edge of Lofoten, and that place is simply called Å. So that is the furthest place you can get by car. So we got there, enjoyed the views a little bit, and then we drove back to one of the most, if not the most popular hike on Lofoten.
Now we're going to our first hike here called Reinebringen, and it's quite short but quite steep, so we'll see how we'll do.
During this hike I got this quite abstract thought that, you know, at home you can do meditation and become aware of the mysteriousness of existence, but here in nature it just hits me that the nature meditates you.
So another type of content that I made a lot is these very short videos that are almost kind of like a joke sometimes, and sometimes they can be quite creative as well, and they are really based on like some unique idea, and they can be hard to produce consistently, like covers or lessons, for example. And I really enjoy these whenever I get an idea for them, but I also noticed that sometimes I can kind of hijack that concept just to make something that is quick to make in order to keep up the uploading schedule as well. So that is also something I'm debating if those aren't worth making, and perhaps it would be better to not upload just as often. And that is another thing that I'm kind of debating with myself.
The following day we took a recommendation from a guide at the hotel which recommended to check out Narvtinden. So we drove there and did another hike, on which I continue to reflect on my creative struggles.
And another type of content that I made in the past is these where I really prioritize creativity. For example, the Californication cover that we did, and the Tangelo cover, for example, and also the instrumental Anne cover that I did by myself. And also Second Walk is also something that comes to me that I did with Ian and Chris, the drummer. And that type of content is like really prioritizing creativity. but it doesn't make sense from like keeping the upload scheduling, like keeping the consistency. They take a long time, and it doesn't make sense from like getting a lot of views. It's not like interesting. It's not like interesting to click on like other types of videos that I talked about before, and they are usually have some form of copyright problem, like some form of claim, which also makes them hard to monetize. And I don't know if it's true, but I think that it can also make them harder for YouTube to promote with the algorithm, because YouTube doesn't earn as much money on that type of content. So I think that kind of category of content that I made is like, if you maximize just creativity, those are really satisfying to make. I'm really happy that I made them, and they have a lot of ideas like that, but they can be hard to work on consistently because they are so much effort.
After this hike, the same day, we did a 24-minute drive to the lovely Lofoten beach camp.
So this is the first night that we're going to tent here in Lofoten, and I'm a bit terrified about this because I never actually slept good in a tent before. And I talked to you before about my focus in health and all that, my interest in that. And one recent aspect there is that I'm starting to follow Brian Johnson, the longevity guru, and he has this concept where sleep is the most important thing. So inspired by that, I started to measure my sleep quality with my watch, and I get like a percentage of my sleep quality every night. So last night I got like 92% at the hotel. I usually get like 95 to 100 when I'm at home. So it will be really interesting to follow up what kind of sleep score I get now the first night in the tent.
Then we had some dinner, which we conveniently prepared the same morning in the kitchen at the hotel that we stayed at. But the wind kept on going, so it started to get quite cold. You know, it was about 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And with the wind, it got quite cold, so we got into the tent to protect from it. And there I got into this quite philosophical mode, so to speak. So I tried to record a very abstract philosophical idea there that hopefully someone can relate to. Okay, so a really abstract thought just crossed my mind, which I will try to get across to hopefully at least one person. So let's say that you are this infinite conscious mind that will, for simplicity, call the absolute perspective. But then, you know, you wake up and you have your everyday life, your everyday struggles, and you start to think yourself as this person who have all these problems that you need to fix. And that I would, for simplicity, call the relative perspective. And one way that you can become aware of this absolute perspective in your everyday life could be to meditate on it and be aware of it through just where you project or where you focus your conscious mind on. But an alternative approach, which I find that I do on this vacation now, is to instead really turn your relative perspective, your everyday life, inside out and go into this journey that I'm on now, where you completely change your scenery and just your habits and all that, to really see how relative your everyday life really is, which really puts it all into perspective, which makes you more aware of this absolute perspective, which I feel is kind of something that I'm becoming aware of during this vacation. But a drawback to this approach is that nowadays it's quite easy to still, you know, have your everyday life going inside your mind. You still have your habitual thoughts, and especially with the smartphone you can still have your habits there and just keep checking it on habit and not being aware of all your new surrounding and all that. So that is still a challenge, which I also struggle with. I still use my smartphone and just do all my everyday habits there, even though I'm on this vacation, but I still feel like I'm kind of pushed over the edge anyway to become more aware of this absolute perspective. Following that abstract talk, I ground myself in reality again by playing some Yahtzee, and then it was time to hit the bed. And when I went to bed, it was actually at first quite comfortable, but then the wind started to blow harder and it started to rain. And since we're above the Arctic Circle, all I see is this, like pure light, and the hours keep on passing, you're still awake, and you start to question if this was a good idea after all. And then all of a sudden I woke up in the morning.
Okay, so I just woke up from the first night in sleeping in a tent here in Lofoten, and it felt really terrible when I tried to fall asleep. I was awake for like 3 hours and I thought I wouldn't sleep at all. But then eventually I fell asleep, and now I checked my sleep score, and it is 98%, which really shocked me. And apparently the deep sleep is higher than it's ever been. I don't know if there's something wrong, but apparently I slept really good in the tent, so that is really surprising and really fun to see. So when I finally fell asleep, it was a really good night.
And then I enjoyed the best part about waking up in a tent, which is that you can do this.
Well.
No, but truly, I think the best part is that usually when you go out in nature on an adventure, you need to go home at night to sleep and end it there. But when you sleep in a tent, you can just continue on the nature experience, and then first thing in the morning continue the adventure and just wake up into this beautiful landscape, this beautiful scenery, and just taking it all in. And then you can start doing these normal everyday tasks like preparing breakfast, and at home it can feel like a means to an end that you want to get done in order to be able to do what you actually want to do later on in the day. But now you're already doing the cool thing, you're already out in nature, and then you feel like you have all the time in the world to peacefully just do these normally mundane tasks, like again preparing breakfast or preparing coffee or whatever, because you're already out in this beautiful landscape again, this beautiful nature. And yeah, it's, I think, really peaceful and healing for the soul. And after feeling one with nature, it was time to get back to reality, pack the tent and drive to the next hike. Right, so now we're about halfway on the Offersøykammen hike, but unfortunately we can't do the whole hike because we were supposed to go kayaking tomorrow, but due to bad weather it got cancelled, so we're doing it tonight instead on short notice. So we're in a bit of a hurry, but the view is quite beautiful nonetheless, I think. But anyway, regarding my talk on my channel and the different kind of videos that I talked about in previous shots, I guess what I'm leading up to is the point that I have been optimizing for frequency to be able to post consistently, and yeah, I think that has been really helpful to build up the channel and also build up the habit to create for myself as well. But the point that I'm kind of leading towards now is that now I don't really feel I need to like grow the channel more, but rather just focus on enjoying more on the creative part to make that as fun and as enjoyable as possible. So at the point where I'm at now, it makes more sense to start to not optimizing on consistency and frequency, but rather optimizing for creativity. And if I do decide to do that change, that would mean that I perhaps would start to post inconsistently with whenever I have something that is ready to be posted. Then we did a short drive to our hotel in Lekenes, followed by about 30-minute drive to Eggum for the kayaking the same evening, and it was done in this really beautiful scenery. And during this trip we also learned that you can hunt down these sea urchins, which we did, and these are apparently a really nice delicacy here in Norway, and they go for quite a high price. So I didn't expect fine dining during this kayaking trip, but apparently we got it because we actually tried it. So what you do is that you crack these open and then it looks something like this. So I had a taste and I washed it in the sea beforehand, and because of that the taste was mostly quite salty due to the salty water. But other than that, I could distinguish some form of taste from the sea urchin, and it kind of reminds you a little bit of shrimps or something like that. So it was actually quite nice and quite cool to be able to eat it directly from the sea.
So another aspect of my health interest is that I have this massive bag of supplements with me on this journey, which perhaps could be a bit provoking, but yeah, that's me. But anyway, now it's a bit of a bad weather day, so there's no kayaking today. We did it yesterday, so today is more of a rest day. We had a chill morning and now we're going to see some seals.
And so we began our 1 hour drive to Kabelvåg, where we had our hostel and where we could meet up with the seals. And the seal thing is kind of an inside joke thing that I have with my partner, which you perhaps have noticed in videos like this one. And once we met up with the seals, I have to say they are like as funny in real life as they are on the internet, especially when it's time for them to get food. I would say they are like as memeable in real life as they are on the internet. And also we learned this one astonishing fact about these majestic creatures.
They will eat and eat and eat and eat. They are programmed to build up fat.
And then back at the hostel the same night, we used the kitchen there to prepare some food, and also I made more of these bars that I talked about in the beginning of the video. And that was kind of funny because a lot of people were coming up to me, and pretty much everyone, and was like, what on earth are you preparing? So I had this like huge bowl where I mashed bananas and added a bunch of eggs and then just made this mess. And apparently it was not the usual behavior. The standard behavior seemed to just be to cook food for the night and that's it. But yeah, we have our meal prepping strategy with this strange food, so I thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, the next day we drove all the way to Andenes, a quite long drive, over 3 hours, our longest drive so far. And the reason to go to Andenes is that there you can do some cool whale watching, which we will do later in the video. And during this drive we took the scenic route where there were really beautiful stops here and there. And also along the way we took a break for some tea and a sandwich, and I also continued to reflect on my creative struggles.
So today there has been a bit more of a rainy day today as well, but it's quite okay because we're driving for a couple of hours today to Andenes, so it's quite good weather for that and quite beautiful to see the mountains in the clouds and all that. So really cool to see Lofoten in different types of weather. But back to my creative struggles. So I actually already tried this approach of not being super focused on this uploading schedule every Monday. So I started this larger project which I planned to release perhaps next year, but perhaps it goes faster so I can do it later this fall. We'll see on that, and you will notice when it comes mostly due to what's in the description, then you will understand why it took such a long time. But the reason I've been able to try this approach already but still keeping up the uploading schedule is that I have a lot of videos that I made in advance because I felt that this time would come where I would struggle with the consistency, and again I prioritized consistency in the past. So we'll see what happens when I'm done with this project, if I will try to make more short videos to be able to keep up the schedule, or if I will make something else that is also quite a large project. So we'll see how I feel when this larger project is done.
So the next day we woke up at our hotel in Andenes, and we were supposed to go whale watching that day, but apparently there were a lot of waves, so it wasn't suitable, so they postponed it. So we got the day off to do whatever we want, so we chose to drive to Måtinden, this 1 hour drive, and it felt like a quick drive because the landscape and the scenery is really beautiful to drive in. And the Mårtinden hike starts off quite steep, but then you walk in more flat areas in this wide mountain landscape with really beautiful views. And eventually we got to the top of it, and the views were really astonishing, both over the sea and over the beach.
So for this hike the weather has been really nice up until this point, after we ate some snacks and rested a little bit. So now it got quite foggy over here, but it was really nice to at least walk up here, and it's pretty cool to see all the landscape in this context as well. We haven't seen foggy mountains so far, so that's nice to see as well. But anyway, I started to reflect on why I have this need to reflect on my uploading schedule and all that, and I feel like when I make a commitment, it's really important for me to keep that commitment, and now I feel like it's getting harder to keep that commitment, and I don't want to be a creator where I suddenly just stop uploading without an explanation. So I kind of want to prepare for this possible change in the future for the ones that I have been watching for a long time, so it doesn't feel like I just disappear without any reason. And my commitment for the future is that I want to keep doing this for many years to come. I just need to figure out kind of which format to use.
The next day it was the big day, the whale watching day, so we got onto these rib boats and drove out in the sea, and it was still quite windy and quite a lot of waves, so it kind of felt like going on a roller coaster driving the ribboat at high speed. So you got quite wet because of that. And then when we were out in the sea, they put this equipment in the sea to hear these click sounds from the sperm whale, which they eventually identified. And then we knew that the sperm whale would get up and breathe within at least 40 minutes. But we were unfortunately a bit unlucky, so we had to wait all the 40 minutes until it got up to breathe. And during this time the wind was blowing quite hard, so we got quite cold, and because of the waves the boat was rocking back and forth, so we both got quite seasick. So the whole thing was a quite rough 2-hour experience just to be able to see this whale breathe for like 20 seconds. And we ourselves were too sick and too cold to film anything, so the clip here is actually from a passenger that was kind enough to share. So in hindsight, I kind of question if it was worth getting seasick, cold, and 400 euros just to see 20 seconds of whale. But obviously it was quite an experience nonetheless, and I'm really grateful for it.
So today we're taking the ferry to Senja. It's quite rainy weather today, and this boat is possible to travel with 3 times a day, but you can't pre-book it. So we were a bit worried if we would be in time, but so far we got a lane, so it seems quite good so far. So hopefully we don't need to wait until lunch. Now it's like almost 8 o'clock, so it will hopefully go in like 40 minutes. But anyway, a concept I thought about last night was the concept of force versus power, where force is like a negative way to operate and power is a more resourceful way to operate. And I think that, like I talked about, keeping this strict uploading schedule has caused me to act from a place of force, where I try to make things as efficient as possible in order to produce something, and I need to force myself and not let the creativity and the creative thoughts flow freely. Instead I need to, like, again, force myself to just get the result out. And I think that the key action to move from force to power for me is to start to do things slower. So just feeling within what I need to do at this moment, like allow myself to, for example, if I recorded something, to not just do the next task, but rather allow myself to get absorbed in the recording and listen to it for as long as I want, for example, or just allow myself to listen to some form of music and not just immediately think, how can I get the result out of this as fast as possible. But again, this would probably mean that I would need to upload more seldom in order to move into this state of acting from power instead of force. But it could also be, I guess, counterintuitive that doing things slower could lead to more outcome as well. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like I could end up in a place where I upload less often because of that. Okay, so we got really lucky on the ferry to Senja. We got like one of the last spots, so we got here really early, and it also stopped raining when we got here, so we did this spontaneous little hike. We didn't do the full Sockertoppen hike, or whatever it's called. We just did like 100 meters of elevation, but we're planning to do a larger hike tomorrow instead. So after this we will just drive at the scenic route and explore that a little further. But anyway, like I talked about before the ferry, the concept of moving into power instead of force, what's really crossed my mind when I started to think about that on the ferry is that I feel like the need to explore and learn new things and grow as a person, and I want to take the channel with me on that journey. But if I don't like expand what I can do on the channel, then the channel will start to become a hindrance, because it will be something that I need to maintain while I start to explore and grow. But I want to merge the two, so the channel, instead of becoming a hindrance which I just need to maintain, instead it turns into something that grows with me. But again, the struggle is, what can I do so it doesn't feel irrelevant to what the channel is about, while I still grow as a person? That's a real challenge. Then we drove the scenic route to our next hike, and there were a lot of beautiful views along the way. Okay, so today we're hiking the trail called Hästen. It's about 540 height meters, something like that, and it was quite foggy when we started, and we had some hope that perhaps the fog would subside or we would climb above it or something like that. And now we're like 100 meters from the top, and it doesn't seem to get any better. So I think we're not too motivated and doesn't feel too safe to do the steep climbing of the last 100 meters. So I think we're quite happy to go down this trail now. But anyway, I thought about what I talked about yesterday, about wanting to grow with the channel, and I think that is like my intrinsic goal. But extrinsically, I guess the most concrete measurement of that in terms of goals is like number of views. It's like a very tangible thing to focus on, and for me, I don't feel like it's important to get many views like these viral videos that are at least viral according to my standards. To me, it's more important to feel like I have like a quality viewership. Like a week ago I had this video uploaded where I teach different fields of scar tissue, and then I got a comment there saying that, yeah, I watched this video with my guitar and I played along and I learned something. And to me that is much more valuable, even if that video gets like 1,000 views or something like that, compared to like a short joke video that gets hundreds of thousands of views where people just doom scroll that video. Even though those viral videos obviously can be fun to make occasionally, but too much of that I think is not a good long-term goal. So as long as I can get like long-term at least 1,000 views per video where people really connect with the niche, and also having some support on Patreon really helps a lot. And with Patreon I think it's valuable from many perspectives. I think it's like a receipt that people actually really find value in what I do with the content, and it also makes it easier to justify to invest financially in better equipment and stuff like that if I actually earn something from it. Because if I don't earn anything, then that feels like a receipt that I don't provide that much value. So long-term extrinsic goal I would say is, well, at least like 1,000 views per videos like I have now, and at least some support on Patreon. So I don't really aim to grow it anymore, but rather I want to make it more sustainable long term, while, like I said, I grow as a person along the way. Okay, so when you look for snacks in Sweden, you find like dried fruits, usually like dried mango or something like that. But in Norway, you find dried cod. So at least it's quite a clean product. It's just like one ingredient, so it should be pretty healthy, I guess, except for the heavy metals. But yeah, I'm a little bit scared to try these, but I'm going to get the full Norwegian experience and give these a try. So smells very fishy, so to speak. Okay. It doesn't really taste much, it's kind of dry. I would say dried mango is more tasty.
And then 10 minutes after this video, I finished the whole bag.
Right, so now it's like 8:15 in the night the next day, and so I'm a bit tired, but I will try to summarize this day. So this day we left Norway, sadly, and we went to Abisko, the natural park in northern Sweden. And the first thing we did when we got here was to set up the tent, which I would really like to get better on. I'm not really good at it, so it takes a lot of time to understand everything. After that was done, we went on a hike on Kungsleden, so part of Kungsleden. It's really long. The total length of it is like 440 kilometers, so obviously we don't did the whole thing, but we went part of it. So we saw the canyon and also Lapporten, which is quite famous. It's like nature's entrance to Lapland. But anyway, on the creative side, I realized that my talks that I've done during this journey perhaps has sounded like a little bit pessimistic on what I'm doing, so I don't want it to come across like I don't want to keep like making chili peppers content and Frusciante related content on my channel. It's not like I don't like doing that, it's just a more nuanced discussion on how I go about doing that type of content. So yeah, for the future I definitely want to continue on making that type of content as well. Again, it's just a nuanced discussion on how I will do it. But for the practical side of this day, this will be the second tent night. It were supposed to be 4 days, but due to the whale watching rescheduling due to the weather and all that, we only do 2 tent nights. And again, I'm a little bit worried about the sleep score and the sleep quality and everything, if I will manage to be comfortable this night as well. So I'll update you tomorrow on the sleep score. It will be exciting to see. Okay, so now it's the day after the 10th night, and I promised you to update on my sleep score, but I feel a bit bad talking about my sleep because my partner's mattress had a flat or something, so that obviously was a bit rough for her. Both in terms of comfort, but also it gets like really cold because the air helps to isolate from the cold ground. But I did promise you to update you on the score, so I will talk about it anyway. So it seems to change from time to time, but right now it says that it was at 91%, so I think that's quite good. Not as good as the hotel stays, which usually is like 95 or even 100 sometimes. But I'm definitely happy with that, and I feel quite good now. During the sleep it felt like I never fell asleep, but then I looked at the watch and the whole night had passed, so somehow I got through it quite okay. And now we're actually going home, but it will take 3 days, so it's still a lot of vacation time left for us, but I feel like I don't have too much to add, so I think this is a good time to wrap it up. I think it has been a really fun video to make. It feels like I talked about before, a video where I really grow with the video, so that makes it really rewarding to make, and it feels like I got an value from it even without it being published. And if at least one person can watch and relate to the creative struggles or give like an insightful comment that I can learn from and help to improve what I do moving forward, then that is a nice bonus.